Hey, it's Robert. We're at Mentorship Military Podcast. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and I'm here with my sidekick, Paul Martinez.
Hey, everybody.
So we're at 15 Perry Street. Appreciate these guys allowing us once again to be in studio, and it's always good to be here. And we have a guest, Jason Belford. And Jason, can we go ahead and say that you're still on active duty? Is that something?
Yeah. That's
okay.
fine.
So you're still part of 75th Ranger Regiment.
Yeah.
And we're going to dive into your story here. So where was it? You know, you ended up here, but where was it that you came from before here? What was your humble beginnings? You know, where'd you grow up?
I started out. I grew up in South Shore, Kentucky, little town.
That's where the southern draw. See, I wonder where you acquired that.
Yeah, I grew up a little town in Kentucky, and then I joined the Army when I was 23, about a year after my older brother died. So,
okay.
It was like one of my things. I just wanted to get out of there, start something new, do something different.
Yeah.
And he was always a huge supporter of myself, so he's like, hey, you can do whatever you set your mind to. And my older brother, Larry, he currently retired a master gun, so I always mentored after him and my brothers, and I was like, you know what, no better time than now, so that's where I started.
Yeah, so what made you go into the military? What was the main driving force?
Well, my brothers, right? So I wanted to be a Marine first. I'll say that on live, I guess. But, because I had a brother that was a Marine, and it's always one thing about Marines is they let you know how tough they are. And that was kind of how my brother was growing up. So,
did he push you that direction though?
No, he never did that. If he did anything, probably told me it wasn't for me. So, but it was just having him there and seeing his career. And then, when my oldest brother died of leukemia, they pulled him back from Iraq. And, I remember going to the motel room and with his wife and stuff, and he had he still had his kit and stuff there with him. Not his weapon, obviously, but I had his body armor stuff, and just seeing that, and then knowing, like I wanted to mentor after him because what he had done, and then my brother died, he was in the Navy, and what he'd done, and I was like, well, you gotta start somewhere. And the thing is, I, not proudly, but I got kicked out of high school when I was 18, and I started basically my family early. I had a son already at 18. Super proud now. I'm a grandpa.
What?
Yeah.
I would have never guessed that looking at you.
My son Uriah, he's a current 175 Ranger.
Oh, really? Get out of here.
Super proud of that. I want to get that out there now. So,
yeah.
I started my family really early, and it was hard, struggle for a while, and I didn't have any education. Didn't have an education in school, and didn't have an education in life, really, just being a dude. The one thing I grew up with was working hard and welding and that type of thing, So yeah. I just went to work when I got kicked out of school, and I thought, well, my dad was a machinist, and I was like, well, that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, better get good at it. So got a little education in welding, and I thought that was how my future was going to turn out. And then.
And what year was this?
That was in 2000. I was born in 2000, so right then. So
yeah.
Then I got I just wanted something more every day. Like it wasn't enough to go to work and work 8 hours a day for $6.50 an hour. I was like, this sucks,
Mm-hmm.
Had a car that I'd work on all weekend just to go to work Monday through Friday, and just I always wanted to. I grew up kind of hard, so I wanted something different for my kids. So I was driving home from work. Got laid off from work when I was a union worker for a while, and I was driving home from work, and I stopped at a red light in Ashland, Kentucky, about a mile down from my mom's house, the apartments, and I looked to the left, and this is no shit true story. The Marine Corps, and how they got the little cluster of different military stuff there. There's a red light, and I looked over to my left. This place is still there, and I was like, well, ain't time to do it. Might as well do it now. So I went in there and went straight to the Marine Corps guy, and he's like, you don't even have a GED, dude. Like, I can't do anything for you. I was like, he's got a good point. So, I thought that since the war was kicked off, shit was going hard in the paint, they'd just take anybody.
Yeah.
Except some redneck from Kentucky with no education. So
Yeah.
I went home to now my ex-wife, but I went home and was like, I'm going to join the Army. And she's super smart. She's like, well, I'll help you. So she helped me through the whole education piece and got me
Studying the ASVAB, got the book, all that kind of good stuff.
The whole 9 yards. And, I went back and I was like, no, really, I'm going to join. And he's like, well, we don't take GEDs. And I was like, that's cool. And then this recruiter's like, what do you want to do? And there was this picture of these MARSOC Marines on the poster. And I was like, I want to do that. And he's like, well, I can't do that for you. He's like, but I can make you a Cav Scout. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. What do they do? He's like, they ride horses and shit.
Ride horses?
I was like, oh, yeah, that sounds fun.
Oh, my gosh.
I rode horses growing up. I know how to ride horses. You get spurs and shit, too, and a cowboy hat. And I was like,
get out of here.
What more do you want?
Said that.
Swear to God. Got to watch this cool video that now I know that everything on the video was all Rangers. But I got to watch this cool video. And then I went up to the MEPS and I couldn't join the Cav Scouts because he was like, hey, you because I had, ruined my credit as a young kid, with no guidance, you know what I mean? And like, I'll get these offers in the mail or go to the clothing store and they're like, yeah, we'll give you 10% off. You sign up today. I'm like, sounds like a great idea. Yeah. 10% off of $200. But, let me get that going. So I ruined my credit earlier, so I didn't have, he's like, oh, you got to have it, be able to get a secret clearance, like put it in now. And I was like, well, that ain't going to happen probably because definitely got more than that, like $4,000 debt or something.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, you can do two things. You can be an 88 Mike, which is a truck driver.
Yeah, truck driver, yeah.
Or you can be an 11 Bravo. And I was like, what do they do? And he's like, well, they fight on the front line. And I was like, well, sounds like a place for me.
Yeah.
So, and that's what happened.
Now, what was your brother in the Marine Corps? Was he 0311 infantry?
We'll keep that one to myself. No, I'm proud of him. He was a combat meteorologist, so he did work with a lot of like JSOC stuff and like the MARSOC dudes and up at that level. Yeah, we couldn't do whenever they say lift red for the night. That's the guy telling us where you're going. Yeah. So, super proud of him. Like I said, I mentored after him for a long time, wanted to be just like him. So,
So are you getting any input from your brothers at this point?
Just that I'm an idiot, no.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. It's the same input I get daily, but no. And then, I went and djoined the Army and went to basic training.
Fort Benning,
Georgia, and now
did you didn't have like an option 40 or anything?
No, I had no idea what a Ranger was.
Just hitting it raw, man.
Yeah, straight fuzzy patch. Had no idea what. Well, back then it was on the collar because I'd BDUs. That's how old I am. But,
yeah.
I had no idea what a Ranger was or what they did. I just knew the videos showed what 11 Bravos did. So I was like, that seems cool. It's almost like the same video without horses.
Yeah.
That the Cavs do. But I got the worst place in the Army, 30th AG, and I was like, I can't do this. Honestly, yeah, man.
Really?
Like, I called.
What was it? What was it about 30th AG that was so bad?
Man, it was just, it was like, I don't know. It was like a culture shock or something. Away from my family, had young kids, and I thought I'd bit off more than I could chew, And I called my ex-wife and I was like, I can't do this, and she's like, stop being a pussy. Literally, she told me that. Yeah. She wouldn't say that now, but she did tell me that, and she's like, you can do it. It's just no harder than the physical aspect will be no harder than the mental aspect you already went through, and she's like, it's what you wanted, so just tough it out. Don't go back till you're done.
Nice.
And so I was like, well, shit, she don't want me to come home, so I guess I'll do this. And, I graduated, basic training, and I still didn't know what a Ranger was until I did pretty good at PT and basic training, so they gave me a Ranger contract in basic to go.
Oh, did they?
To go to RIP, yeah. Now I ruined that too, like I did a lot of things in life. But I had a long road to hoe, buddy. I got a Ranger contract and basic training for physical fitness, and it's funny. One of my best drill sergeants, Drill Sergeant Burke, he has the tattoo of like all Vietnam on his back. He's actually been in a couple tattoo books, but I was doing the regiment's best Ranger coach a couple years ago, and I walked into staff duty, this random place on post, and I see this dude I thought I knew, and I was like, who the hell is that? I was like, I know that, Drill Sergeant Burke. I was like, holy shit. And I was like, hey, you were my drill sergeant. And he's like, whoa. He's like, look, you're doing all right. And I was like, well, I had a rough start. But anyway, it's good to catch up with him. He's a great guy, one of the best drill sergeants we have. But anyway, yeah, man, I went through basic training, got that option 4 to your basic training contract, and went off to airborne school, and it's just me and a couple buddies that passed the PT test to go to airborne school, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, nowadays they do it reverse, you know, where you go to RASP and then airborne if you make it through. Well, pre-RASP, RASP then. Yeah.
Right. So, but now, before you had to go to airborne school and not break your leg before you
Exactly. Right. That's what I was going to say is that, so you're sucking on Motrin when you get out of airborne school and have to go to RIP. Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'll do it live. So, at this point, I had just some buddies that I'd been to basic training with, and we'd been downrange together, dude. We thought we were everybody's best friend, and I went and got a little too drunk with them, and one thing led to another, and I woke up without tennis shoes in formation the next morning. And
this is at airborne school.
Yeah.
And your first taste of freedom.
My first taste of freedom.
And you blew it.
I blew it.
They generally frown on that, too.
Yeah, they don't like that too
they're
much.
Not huge fans.
Yeah, you don't do that. Not suggested. You learn the best lessons learned hard, And
you don't forget them, usually.
That's no. So, I got released, and I went to the worst place the Army could have sent me for my crime, Fort Polk, Louisiana.
Oh, I've been there, done that.
But I met some of the best men that and I have great Ranger buddies like Paul. But I met some of the best men and fought some of the hardest fights in combat with 4th Brigade, 10th Mountain, 2-4 guys. And I still communicate with those guys today. And man, those guys are warriors, dude. Like, we probably, we deployed like March 2006, I believe. We're gone for almost a year, and we were in Logar Province and get soldiers of the day. Don't really understand some of it, but we didn't have hot chow. We had MREs most of the time, or we finally got a cook out there after being there for a while. We didn't have a hot shower. Like we burned our own shit. Like it was rough. Like day to day, that was your going out on patrol, walking. I was 240 gunner, carried 240 for 10, 12, 13K, and then getting a few firefights, go black on ammo, and hope you can walk back and getting your ass shut off again. And like I said, some of my best brothers are those guys, and so it was a horrible place to go. I wouldn't suggest you just pick that as your option to go, but I definitely have friends and brothers for life from that place, and that I still communicate with every day. And some of the in the Army, you become a leader based off of some of the worst leaders you've had, and also the best, because
most definitely
you can learn from both. And I had that there, because it is like in the Range Regiment, I think we get a little complacent because we have literally the greatest leaders there is like that. I mean,
when you also this is my experience, because I did sort of the opposite from you, where I went to the regular Army after regiment, and you realize the people that are under you are outstanding as well, and it's such a challenge motivating conventional Army after you've been in Ranger Battalion for so long. So you're like, they don't respond to pain because they don't care. They don't have that natural ranger fear where like, okay, First Sergeant Belford's going to mess me up real bad. Like my life's going to be pain for the foreseeable future if I don't do what he says. And the regular Army's not always like that.
Yeah, you know, so the good thing about Regiment is everybody, you know, wants to be there, you know, for the most part. Like, they volunteer to be there. They want to be there, and they want to do every day, you know, as a job interview, you know. And every day I go to work, I don't feel like I belong there at all, you know. There's my peers.
I've always felt like that about you, though. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's true story. My peers, and every day I go to work, you know, like I'm like, this place is too good for me. And
it's not.
The day I feel like I fit in there would be the day I try to find a new job because, you know, 100% and then some every day. And that's not like a cliche. That is literally the truth, you know. Yeah. The new people you get in, you know, every place has its people too. Like every place has the guys that aren't going to be the best. You know I'm not one of those guys. I'm not the best, but I definitely, you know, work with dudes who are the best the way I feel it. And it's humbling to go in and put that uniform on and wear that scroll and tambourine every day. So when I was in Fort Polk, I didn't know that. You know, I still didn't know what those guys were. And I went on I went on 2 deployments. You know, that one about a year and then a 15-month right back to back.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Same unit.
How long was your break in between?
Well, I went to sniper school and I went to airborne. I went back to airborne school and finally nailed that one. But but away from home, I probably had about a 7-month break.
Wow.
It was a 12-month total, but you know, at the time I was gone for training and all that stuff, I probably home about 7 months, and then I was left for 15. My oldest daughter, Jaden, she's 13 and she was about a month old when I left, and when I got back, she was walking and talking. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. And you were there then when they extended everybody.
Yeah, we were there. I was there during the surge, so we got there right after the surge, actually, like right in the November time frame of the surge, and everybody got extended. So we just missed the 18th month, so they backed it off to 15 months. So they were really, you know, generous with that. Cut a couple months off, but yeah, we still did the 15-month row. Which was hard. I mean, you come home, everything's literally changed, you know. And
did you get a break anytime in between there to come home for a little short break?
Yeah, but luckily mine was exactly 12 months from the time I got there. So
perfect. They loved you, man. Perfect.
So I went about a month later because my daughter was born. I got 10 days off. Now you get 21 days. My son just got 21 days off. I was like, what?
Wow.
That's awesome. I got 10.
Yeah.
And that was like including the travel days. Yeah. But we do it different in the Army now, which is good, you know, and better. You got to be able to grow, you know, and I've seen, you know, a lot of people succeed, a lot of people fail in a lot of different ways because the times are changing and everything changes, and if you don't get on board, like, you're gonna have to get out, you know. Like, people don't respond the way, you know, they used to, and, you know, it used to be through pain and repetition, and now, you know, like, I try to go to work, and, you know, I ain't the best at it, and one of my mottos at the bottom of my email is better every day, right? So, and I tell everybody when I send my email, it's not because I want you to see that I'm better every day. That's the last thing I read in the email before I push send is it says better every day. So,
oh, wow.
You know, one of my mentors, two of them, you know, Sergeant Major Donaldson, Sergeant Major Masters, they have this, you know, like, lead with a growth mindset, you know, lead with humility, and trying to mentor after those, like, those kind of leaders in the Ranger Regiment and in the Army is super hard to do, you know, mentally, physically, however, but in life, you know, at home. So those are good, like, military mentors to try. I try to, like, mentor my life after those guys. They're great to know them, and there's peers along the way, and other, you know, officers. I got my current Ranger buddy, Captain Champa. He's throttled me back on several ledges, you know, and he's changed, like, a lot of my, you know, I'm just going to send it type stuff, you know, and he's like, give me the thought process, like, think about it, you know, put these things into perspective first. So, and you don't get that everywhere you go in the military, and that's the kind of leaders and kind of people that you get every day, and I like it that the last guys you had, I'm glad I got to sit in on that when they were talking about finding a civilian mentor, right? One of my biggest civilian mentors, Dave Elder, I went through a pretty rough time, and he was one of my promoters. He was a fight promoter, used to own Strike Hard Productions, and that guy that used to fight for him a lot, and he's just always been there, man, for 10 years. Like, he texts me, calls me, like I'm really friends with his family, and I told him today, like, I sent him a text. I was like, Dave, I just heard a quote, civilian mentor, right? I've never heard that, because we always talk about military mentors, right? And how
always.
And that was just awesome. But, when I think about like a civilian mentor, like I think Dave is definitely that one. He's successful. He's very humble. His family is like very humble. His son, Jackson, just graduated. He's a Lodi now on a C-17. So that's pretty cool, right? So
that's real cool.
And you're talking about like a super successful, like, father, mom, entrepreneurship in the family, and hear that their son still, like, like, I still have something to give, and he goes and does joins the military. That's awesome, right?
That's cool.
Think about the mentor that he was to his kid, like that. That's pretty cool. So I said that to him today on there. I was like, hey, Dave, you're my civilian mentor.
Was the second deployment, or was either one of those pretty kinetic?
Yeah, the first deployment was very kinetic. Very, like I said, we fought our ass off, in Logar province, and we lived in a platoon fob. We became a family. Like, we really were a family. Like, you just spent 6, 8, 9, 12 months with these guys, literally in a maybe 1 acre square, and you're going on patrols, guns attached with them, and you're just getting after it. So you guys become a family and a brotherhood that can't be replaced, and that's why we all still keep in contact, because that'll always be there. That shared hardship, right? That's how we become.
Did you find a similar experience once you went to 3rd Bat?
It took a while.
Right, but I guess I'm asking because, like, did you ever find, like, that
brotherhood?
Yeah, that same brotherhood that you had before. That is hard to do.
That platoon nucleus that you really kind of only can get one way.
Yeah, in the sniper section, as I do, like, we were, we're a team together, and then we would get off, and then we go off to the platoons, and my sniper partners and stuff, we were always close, like, you and I, but being attached to those platoons, I think, you find that nucleus like you're talking about, and you become part of that platoon, Cubic and Satora, I was telling you about Cubic just getting into the Hall of Heroes yesterday. It was awesome, and
that is awesome.
Those two dudes were they were hard dudes, right? But they had a soft side, and they kind of took me under their wing a few times, and I was thankful for that, and I become really close to them and stuff. And then obviously, tragic, but and then when you have leaders like the Wilcoxes and the Bowleys and those guys that are just like literally out front doing it, it's hard not to become part of that team and find that spot that you fit in.
I can imagine, though, why it would take so long or take a while, because you're having to get the trust, mutual trust, for a period of time. And I don't know, sometimes you're looking for the exact same thing that you had before. And if you don't find 100% of it, it's harder then to embrace what you're seeing. And it may be very good, but you're now comparing everything to what you had before.
Yeah, and coming in back then as an import was not easy.
So when did that occur? Did that so after that second deployment, how long before you started thinking, hey, maybe I want to go that?
That occurred during that second deployment.
Did it?
Because I was like, I ain't doing this again.
Yeah.
Hell or high water. So
How'd you end up with?
So I went
Ranger on the radar.
Well, I had I became an E5 on that deployment.
Okay.
And then one of my soldiers re-enlisted to go to RIP. I had no idea that was even an option. And then I talked to the recruiters and some of the guys about it, and they're like, "Oh no, you're done now." So when I got back from deployment, I was like, "No, I'm not. Hold my beer, watch this." Right?
Yeah.
I was like, "I don't think you guys knew that." When I said I'm not doing that again, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
So now, well, he was the RSM's all ball. Well, he used to be the HRC guy back in the day, and
he's over in Germany now, right? Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, I want to come," and he's like, "Send me a 4187, just sign it." And I was like, "It's my command need to sign." He's like, "No, I ain't worried about them." So I was like, "All right," and I sent it. Literally, like that. I got back, sent it in February. 4 or 5 days, I had orders to report to RIP in April, and I rode the gauntlet from there.
Nice.
It was. I went to RIP, had a weekend off. Went to pre-Ranger, had a weekend off, and then went straight to Ranger School.
How difficult was that? Yeah, going. I mean, you're wore out already.
It was rough, but I felt pretty prepared going into pre-Ranger because RIP was just physical. Like it's a lot different now. Like in RASP, like Ranger learns. I actually got the opportunity to be a RASP instructor for a while, and you get to teach Ranger and learn. But back then it was how hard could you go in the paint, and when would you going to quit? So
you just had to survive.
That's it. Physically,
survive. Don't get hurt.
Physically,
yeah.
As long as you're physically fit, you were good, and that's what ultimately pushed me back through like pre-Ranger back then, now cert, but and then to Ranger School because I spent 4 weeks in RIP just physically getting crushed.
People are going to want to know. So, like, what did you do to prepare? Did you just walk in to the situation, or was it something like you started getting physically prepared for that moment?
Yeah, physical fitness has never been my best friend, and I've had to work hard at every single part of it I do. Now, fortunately, my wife, she's a super big supporter. My current wife, we've been married for going on 9 years now, but she's a super big runner, and she's super into fitness, so she keeps me in good shape as long as I don't stay injured. But back then, I had youth at my side. That helped.
Yeah.
And motivation. So I trained hard during deployment. Had a good mentor. Now he's a sergeant major, but he was my squad leader, Sergeant Miller. I was roommates with him in Iraq for 15 long months, and I had been to pre-Ranger, and I got injured. I tore my groin in Ranger School the first time, so I got dropped. I got med dropped in Ranger School back in 2007. And Miller had been to Ranger School, so I got to sleep in close quarters with him for 15 months with a Ranger tab hanging in front of my bed because that's what he wanted to hang it, because he wanted me to get up and say the creed every morning pretty much. And he drove it into my head, so thanks to him, he definitely drove me. Sergeant Houston now, he's a command sergeant major, and he was our platoon sergeant. He's in Hawaii now. Same thing, Ranger tab, like always like pushing you to get after it, do it, get after it. So it was good to have those two guys like right there that had tabs, that knew what it took to get through Ranger School at least. And Sergeant Major Houston had a brother that was in Alpha Company, Sergeant Houston. I'm sure you probably know him, Paul. So that he knew a little bit about battalion, so that helped too. And them always telling me you're not going to be ready, so when you think you're ready, keep training. And then when I finally got home, I would wake up 5 o'clock in the morning, go run 5 miles, and just kept training to push it because nothing was going to stop me as long as I didn't get injured. So It was hard. Like, I had to overcome adversities. I had injury. I failed, I failed Ranger School. I had a lot of failure up to this point.
You've already had a lot of struggles just even getting in.
That's right.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know this, and I'm humble to say it. Like, I failed the GED test the first time. I wasn't ready. I passed everything but the writing exam, which I hate writing now, but you can just ask anybody that has to read my atrocious emails. They'll tell you the same thing, but bullet points and to the point is what I try to get to. Yeah. But, I failed the GED test the first time, and I was like, well, back to the drawing board. I didn't let that stop me, and then I failed the ASVAB the first time, too. And I was like, well, that sucks. Now what? I won't tell you how low my score was when I failed the first time because it was atrocious. But I'll tell you this, I failed the ASVAB so bad the first time that when I passed the second time, they made me take it a third time to make sure I didn't cheat the second time.
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
That's a big difference. I've seen that happen before, though. Yeah.
So I had that, and then I would call myself definitely an alcoholic before I joined the Army because I lost my best friend was my brother, right? And I spent a lot of time in the bar and a lot of time drinking, and my dad drinks a lot. He definitely, probably not as much now as he was, but definitely growing up an alcoholic, so that was a pretty easy button to hit, right? So I try to get away from that, and then what I do, first thing, right back in the Army.
Yep.
Right back to what, it's comfortable.
Yep.
And then, got sent to Fort Polk. But, everything happens for a reason. The Lord works in mysterious ways, and that to me, that's, I've gained a lot from, I wouldn't have met the people that I have, and I wouldn't have those experiences if I wouldn't have went through that adversity there right up front.
Thing is that what I'm hearing over and over again, and the story's not even done yet, you never gave up.
Yeah, and I think that to my my current wife, she was very supportive. Like I said, we've been married 9 years, and my ex-wife, she wasn't not supportive. She helped me get through the mental aspect of everything. But my kids, man, like that was the thing. Like I wanted them to have somebody to look up to, and maybe that wasn't like I wasn't going to be able to give them the most amount of money, I wasn't going to be able to give them, the best life ever. And unfortunately, I ended up divorced from their mom, but for the best, she's living a good life now, and I have a great wife now. So, everything happens for a reason at that point, and still been able to, be that mentor for my kids that I set out to be, and they've been the driving factor to a lot of things in my life. And like I said, I got a son in 175 now, and putting that scroll on his arm was, an unbelievable experience that I can't, explain.
Did you see that one coming? Did you know that was going to happen or did it kind of take you by surprise?
Well, no, I mean, he wanted to be a Navy SEAL to start with.
I love the pause.
But I told him, I said, son, you're not very buoyant, so.
That's hilarious.
So, no, he did want to be he wanted to be in the military. He asked me for one of his birthdays, he actually asked me for an ASVAB study guide, and I was like, yeah, that's a pretty good one. I'll give you that, Yeah. And it's awesome too, because with him, like, I hated that he's had to, but he went through a lot of like school struggles as well. Like, he just, hard learner, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Strong Ranger, hard learner,
Yeah.
But to see him sitting at the coffee table and just papers spread out, and books open all over the place, and him just getting after it, it was very like
flashbacks to you.
Yeah. And like, I was like, wow, just to see him have that, and see him doing that really meant a lot to me, and to see his drive and dedication. And I was like, for a paused moment, I was like, I'm not always like proud of myself, but for a moment there, I was like, man, I'm proud. I think that I've set like an example there.
Well, of course you have.
For his hard work, and to him see me struggle and still keep going and going.
Well, I was going to ask you, how much did he like how much did he recognize that growing up? Sometimes, as kids, we don't really pay attention to our surroundings maybe as much as we should.
Right.
So I was going to ask you, did he see that from you?
Yeah. I asked him, now he's a grown man, and I've asked him, and he got married last year, and he asked me to be his best man in his wedding, and that said more than anything, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, you've always been there through everything for me, and you've been my biggest mentor in my entire life. And man, to hear that coming from your own flesh and blood is something that you don't feel like you're worthy of.
Yeah.
Like, holy cow, that's awesome. So that was pretty good. And then my son Austin, he I have 7 kids, by the way. I don't know.
You have 7? No, you didn't mention that.
I love that one.
You left that part out.
We're a blended family. I adopted my wife's 2 little kids, Kel and Camille. They're my flesh and blood as well. And
so you have 5.
So I have
originally.
I have 4 originally, and then I
3
adopted two. My wife's 2, and then she had 1 coming to the marriage. So yeah, we had for a while we struggled. It was rough. Blended family, 7 kids, staff sergeant. Dinners weren't very big for a while, but
spam and
right. But it was good though. There's structure, obviously. Discipline and routine is what the wife and I kind of went with, and it worked. Her oldest son and my stepson Carson, super proud of him too. He pretty much a genius. He made straight A's pretty much all through high school without picking up a book, and then she's really smart too. I don't know how I get the smart ones. They're obviously not very smart. Look at me. But they're choice in men, maybe, I don't know. But he actually works at Pratt Whitney. He did an internship right out of high school. He did an internship while he was in high school, and then went straight to Pratt Whitney. He one of the 2, I think, that got hired there.
Right out of high school and stuff?
Yeah, right. We're super proud of him, and super proud of Uriah. And then Austin, he's graduate. He's a senior this year, so he's going to graduate, and then he's going to do the delayed entry program. Is what he keeps saying. So in October, he's going to enlist in the Army to be 25 series, which is communications and stuff. So
cool.
He's super cool about that. So we've been very fortunate to she's definitely, Candace, my wife's definitely been the glue, and I'd say more like cement. No, maybe glue, like a flexibility, glue has a little flex. But she's been real flexible with me, trust me when I say that. But I haven't been the easiest husband to live with, I can guarantee you that. But she's done a great job. And my ex-wife and her husband, humble enough to say, they've done a good job too, because I've been out of the picture a lot, got back from this last deployment, made 66 months deployment time. So, that's 5.5 years completely just deleted out of their lives. That, somebody has filled that void, and fortunately for me, my wife has filled it for our kids, and then, my ex-wife and her husband have been good mentors and Christians to fill that for the kids, my kids, whenever they're at their mom's house. So, I don't miss the people that have had those influences. So I definitely don't take 100% credit for where they are, because I've been gone for so long. Right up front there, be honest about that.
So you ended up doing that much time in deployment. We talk about the wear and tear that the military in general just puts on you, but the fact that you've been a part of battalion and Ranger Regiment and stuff for so long, there's a wear and tear that comes with that as well.
Yeah, my body's paying for it.
Yeah, you can't keep up with the young guys anymore. These guys are coming in 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
And
there's only so many Sergeant Major Masters, and I'm not one of them.
He's still the same, isn't he?
He's an animal.
Hasn't aged a day?
No, still an animal. I don't know. It's hard, I've had it's almost like I just keep talking about adversity, right? But overcoming it, like after time, I've had knee surgeries, had fractured ankles, fractured foot, had 2 shoulder surgeries, and just time after time, just trying to like get back just so I can keep. But like I said, where I work just makes me want to keep going back, because every day you go in there and those guys are just showing you how good they are, and you're like, damn, And, like I said, the mentors I have in the Army, like those guys every day keep coming and giving it better than I'll ever be able to give it, and I'm like, well, I'm going to be here tomorrow, I guess.
So having lived both on the conventional side and then, in the soft side of things, although there are differences and stuff, and I mean, we hear people say all the time, oh, you don't give enough credit just for, there's not enough stories about the conventional side that's being shared. But I mean, you've seen both sides of that, and it sounds like you've gained a lot from both in different ways. And I'm just curious, from your perspective, having looked back, sitting back now, and maybe looking back retrospectively, what was it you kind of took away from that? What was things that you kind of learned?
Well, the one thing about the regular Army is, you have to, like I said, you have leaders that want to be there, that are there to teach you, and then you have the ones that lead by like yelling, right? So what I took away, because I was a little younger when I was in the regular Army time that I spent there, but the regular Army, like the regiment, is the guys that still want to be there are the ones that are still gonna give way, and they're gonna do their part. But from the seeing the both sides, I'd say the biggest one I saw was, the leadership across the board. The regular Army has outstanding leaders in it every day.
Well, they don't have the luxury of quality control.
That's right. And that's what I was going to. Like, that's the good leaders that you find that are in the general purpose force is that they are there for a reason. They actually, they care about their soldiers. They care about their unit. They care about their country, and they show it in their day-to-day, every day, that, their physical fitness. They don't need, sergeant major or somebody being like, you're going to do this. Like, you see them leading their formations. You see them doing that. So it's humble to see those guys that are, in the regular Army that are still giving way that hard whenever they're, for the most part, their mission set doesn't have an end state sometimes, and for the last 14 years I've been in a regiment, we're about to start into a new era now, but I knew when I was training my ass off for 7 months I was going to go be able to get after it for at least 4. Yeah. But in the regular Army right now, you still see those, superb leaders that are just training for the next fight, right? And that says a lot about what those guys that are there. That
to me, it's very much like the Cold War era, and period and stuff, where there was a constant train, but we didn't know when. But it was and we didn't know where the fight was going to be and how it was going to be fought, and whether it was going to be like a Vietnam, or is it going to be like and of course now we know, based on the last 20 years, what it was, and there was a little bit of curve of thinking about it, and we're just going to attack full force to the way we had to modify over those last 20 years. But we're getting back into that now. There's going to be a little bit more of a period here of that garrison where you've got to be a good coach, you got to be a good mentor, you got to be a motivator.
So glad I'm not in the Army right now.
It's very different.
And I'll tell you what,
Jason, I'll tell you, I hated.
Yeah, he was not a standards guy. But
the worst.
So the thing is, like, the regular Army's been after that for a while now, and that's a struggle that regiment we're going to have to tackle. And I would consider myself a boots and blouse, haircut on Monday type leader, and that's how it was when I came into the Army. And
yeah,
and I don't have any trouble getting back to that. I'll point out to the dude, hey man, tuck your boots in, or hey, you need a haircut, and
You guys going to go back to the high and tights again?
No, we're not doing that.
Never happened.
I hope not. Anyway, no, I don't see that happening anytime soon. But we do have to get back to the standard garrison discipline, right? And that's what is going to be hard, and that's what's going to ultimately like make or break us, is how well we can perform in garrison, because dudes are going to have to open up and going to have to get counseling. They're going to have to like fix their mindset and have a growth mindset and be able to say like, I need help, and be open to different things, because now they don't have a deployment to go.
They don't have that end state that you were talking about.
That dump at the end, like proof. Now they're going to have to make sure their hair is cut, make sure that their boots are bloused per se, and pick up the trash as they're walking through the parking lot, and all those things are going to fall into place. And the better we are, at the little things, and we preach about that, right? The little things, but the little things aren't always sight pictures, eye alignment. The little things are, your haircut, right? Being able to pay attention to those too, because that shows discipline in a unit, and that shows discipline in yourself. And everybody knows that, the 75th Ranger Regiment is the most lethal light infantry unit in the world, but they also need to know that they're the most disciplined at home too. And that's going to be a hard transformation for Ranger to do that. And it takes good leaders. I mean, I don't know if I'm that one leader, but I know I'm going to try, and it takes consistency, time, right? Not to say we're not the greatest, at discipline and respect and all that, but we definitely could use a little brushing up, and I think that's going to come with time, and that's what we're going to have to get after, is like those little things like that to set the stage for the next conflict.
The good news is that you got folks like yourself who, whether you're a transplant, however you want to define it, but individuals who have served on active duty in the conventional force, then that can remember even those who had been around, Cold War era or, more garrison type training. If you have that type of experience, you can at least be a good leader to help guide those junior leaders into, this is a new era that we're getting into, like you're describing. I've always wondered that all right, if this war kept going on, when the time comes, and there will be a time where you got to go back to a garrison, how quickly can this army, can this military, not just army, but all of them, quickly adapt back into that slow grind garrison?
I wonder how much adaptation is going to happen. How many guys do you think are going to leave when they know they're not going to get combat? And then is there going to be a reduction in the size of the force? There's a lot of other stuff that goes into it.
Well, if you think back at Desert Storm, that was one of the biggest drawdowns in military history. And, we cut the force so small because everybody believed, we're not going to go into that size of deployment ever again.
You can make that adaptation pretty easy if you...
I think, from the Ranger's standpoint, Ranger wants to be there to close with and destroy the enemy, but he also wants to be there because he wants to train. He wants to continue to get better. And that goes back to what I said, like knowing those guys that are there for a reason, and that's why they want to be there. Yeah, the bonuses are nice, and the deployments were nice, and all that stuff too. But I personally don't feel like that's exactly why Rangers there. I think the ones that were like, nah, whatever, they'll probably get out. But the ones that are like, I'm here to stay because, for one, I'm a United States Army Ranger, and for two, like I'm here when the nation calls, whatever the next call is. That's why I'm here, and I want to make sure that I'm training every day to the hardest, to the best. So when that call does come, I'm in the right spot, the right mindset to close with and destroy the enemy. And you have to be a good follower to be a good leader too. So and that goes to at the first sergeant, the sergeant major level, like the things that are put out, you might not like it, right? Like I tell guys all the time, like, hey, you don't always have to agree with everything that your chain of command puts out, but you do have to support it, because that's what we do in the Army. As long as it's not immoral, unethical, or illegal, like you're doing it because it serves a higher purpose, and that's what a lot of people don't see. And I think that in today's, going forward, that's what we're going to have to, get after, that type of mentality.
I want to talk a little bit about you were talking about the deployments and the grind, at least of Regiment and just of the conventional forces over this last 20 years. There for a long period of time, I think there was a stigma that was out there about getting the proper help if you needed it. And I see a big transition, at least in my perspective of what I get, and is very limited, in talking with a lot of the people that are still boots on the ground type of thing. But it definitely feels like that there is a momentum going to try to get the proper help. Whereas I think back in the day, people were shunned from getting the help that's needed, and they were an outsider, even though they're not any less of a person. But
yeah, I think that's the beginning of our career was like that. You didn't go to mental health. You just run down the checklist, check all the boxes on your SRP checklist, and just keep on rolling.
Yeah.
But we do talk about that a lot when you have free time and I can't talk to you. Yeah. But I was wondering, because you've seen both sides, and I've always thought that PTSD and post-trauma reactions, they manifest different in special operations to some extent.
Why?
That's what the research
And maybe you need it because somebody's going to be listening to this. They're going to go, why? Why is it different?
There's a lot of different reasons they think. But like if you read Lieutenant Colonel Grossman, or maybe he's a colonel, I don't know. But if you read his books like On Killing and On Combat and stuff like that, he suggests that it's a different psychological profile that you're recruiting from the general population that ends up in special operations, and they're naturally able to withstand more trauma or to have different symptoms, or more trauma. Probably a better word for that. But I also think that the nature of what you're experiencing is different because, like you said, the conventional force right now, they're training for the next fight. What that may be, where that may be, who knows? Are you going to deploy with your unit? Who knows? And it's been like that. Whereas in 75th, like I know on this date, I'm going to be in country, and on the date after that, I'm going to be on a mission, and I'm going to be looking for somebody specific or someplace specific, and I'm coming to his house to do what I want to do. Whereas conventional forces, very often you're,
on patrol,
in zone, waiting for it to happen. And I think that it's a completely different perspective to live in those two different spaces. And you've gotten to do that. And so I was like, the things that you experienced when you were with 10th Mountain, like how does that combat experience differ from,
I think you said the best, like, here, in Regiment, I'm coming, right?
Yeah.
I'm bringing my men to the fight, and I'll see you when I get there.
Yeah.
But in the conventional force, like I can remember being on day-long patrols of like, you want to talk about anxiety, like try walking through the mountains of Logar and just wondering if you're about to get your ass shot off, wondering if the next step you take is going to blow up on you.
Yeah. See, and I don't remember having that kind of feeling.
No, and it's because, we really don't really. I mean, and I can go back and forth.
Every once in a while.
You might have an eerie feeling of like, ooh, on an offset, you know, and you're like, oof, that's a long way to walk.
You got a shit plan that you got to execute.
Right.
And you're like, this is kind of.
I'm going to the roof. But, yeah. But, walking, I've walked patrols. I couldn't believe we even did this when I was in Iraq. Like, I have a 500,000 pound MRAP behind me, and I'm out in front walking. What in the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
Oh, and you're telling me that there's IEDs out here? Could you explain to me why I'm walking? No, color,
Because you cost less than the MRAP.
I'm like, the MRAP, remember that thing behind me? Like, why am I not in that? But, I had those thoughts in my head 100 times. Like, so, the walking through the door market, man. Like, if you read about the door market, like, think about that. Walk through that thing. I'm like, no.
It's chaos.
But, now, you didn't know where it was going to come from, but same thing, being on an 8-hour patrol in the mountains, when I was in the regular army, you're like, well, here we go. But, we're in the regiment now and how we've been, you can read in hundreds of books that have been written, the green eye is going to show up, and we're going to take care of business, and that's how we do it. And the difference in the mindset for me and like the animosity and the feeling is I feel like I have the upper hand most of the time, right? Like I'm the one making the plan. I'm the one bringing the fight to you, as opposed to, in the general purpose force, I'm on a patrol and those guys can relay to the next dude, and then they're going to bring the fight to me.
Yeah.
And then you're just fighting your way out of it. And we've done, that's why I said, like, I've been in some of the biggest firefights in my life with 10th Mountain and those dudes in 2-4. And when I say we fought our ass off, like that's what we did. I remember my PL telling me one time, hey, shoot a burst into the hill there. We're going to recon by fire. I'm like, they're not shooting at me.
Yeah.
He's like, shooting the mountains. I'm like, they're not shooting at me. Why do I want to start that? I never walked up to a hornet's nest and just knocked the shit out of it. Why would I start now? I'm almost back.
Did it work?
Yeah, it worked. But, there's something to be said about when I show up to your house and I'm waiting on you to come out.
Yeah.
As opposed to dealing with that, and I think that's a huge thing in between us in the general purpose force, and why those guys deal with different combat on-site, PTSDs and stuff, is living in that like fear and animosity every day is like probably gets to them.
It changes the nature of the trauma that you're experiencing.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's completely different. I mean, good or bad, whatever consequences come, it's my decision that predicated this situation.
Right.
That's how I always felt. You don't have that luxury.
I went years and years without any counseling, right?
Yeah.
Because when I came into the regiment, like, it was a, stigma. Like, well, if you go to counseling, you're going to lose your job.
Yep.
You're going to be made a shit bag, and you're going to be sent to.
And to be clear, like, none of that was ever, because we were there at the same time, none of that was ever verbalized.
No,
it wasn't like said, but you knew that you were going to receive scrutiny.
Felt, right? It was felt.
Yeah, they were going to scrutinize you, and you don't want to be scrutinized because the standard is perfection, and nobody's perfect. So it was sort of built in. So,
I've had unfortunate, several friends commit suicide, and unfortunately in 3rd Battalion we had a suicide, a young sergeant this year. It's just horrible, and you don't know what that person's thinking, but you kind of, when you've been through, kind of what you and I have seen and done, Paul, you kind of maybe know what they were feeling, right? Depending on what their thought process is and where they're at in life. But so I had to get some help, like Jay and Ronnie, like that time I still think of every day. I could close my eyes and put my feet right in the same spot that I was standing, and people don't understand, like, every day, like, you ask yourself, could you done more, right? And as my job was on that night with my sniper partner, him and I, we saw things we probably could have done a little more, and I wake up with that every day wondering if I could have done more. But I fought that a lot with alcohol and bad decisions for multiple years, and I lost a divorce, and then I got remarried to my wife now, and almost lost another marriage to that. Like I said, alcohol and bad decisions, and I had to find something else. And my buddy Donette, Rick, he's my brother, man. Like, he's my brother. He's amazing, honestly. And he sat me down not too long ago, and he said, I was having a hard time through, marriage, through, work, whatever. And he's like, you're really good at what you do, but you ain't good at yourself. And you're not good for yourself. And he's like,
that's a hard pill to swallow,
isn't it though? It's like that fish oil pill that you can't get down.
Yeah.
But he said, who are you? Who are you in life? And who are you without that uniform on, First Sergeant? And I was like, Damn.
That's like deeper than just like, who are you is not a name.
Right. That's right. And then how do you identify yourself? Now, there's all questions we've all heard, right? We've all, read them in books, and we've all done that. But whenever your best friend is, you're in tears and you're in your truck and your best friend's sitting there beside you and he asks you those questions and, he's like, don't come back to me without those answers. Wow. Rick's bigger than me. I think he can whoop my ass too, so I didn't want to let him down. So I spent some time, I dug into myself and, I still jack it up, but my motto is better every day, and maybe I am, maybe I'm not, but if I mess it up today, and that's not making excuses for things you mess up every day, but you at least get up the next day and you try to do it better. And I have a counselor, I've been going to counseling for the last 2.5 years, and my counselor, Monica, man, she's amazing. She's a 61-year-old black lady who'll tell you exactly how she feels. Yeah. And how jacked up you really are, and
how'd you connect with her?
So I called Military One Source.
Okay.
And that's not an advertisement. That's a true story.
Yeah. And they found her for you, or they referred you to her, and
they gave me like 3 or 4 phone numbers of counselors in my in my area. I called the first one and left a message, and the guy called me back. And counselors are a relationship, and I have a lot of past trauma, whether it be from my childhood, which is a lot, and then from war, combat, whatever you want to say. I don't know. I'm sure I probably have a form of PTSD, I guess. I guess you could probably say that. I don't know if I do or I don't, but I feel fine. That's what they all say, right? But
yeah, that's what we all say.
But anyway, I didn't really like the other 2 people, and I was like, I'm not. And I put it off a few days, and she called me back, and she just sounded really sweet. And now I got to know her. She's sweet and very upfront. We'll just leave it at that. I went to a counseling session with her, and then I was like, this is how I get better. This is how I at least try.
Wow.
And
so you knew from like the first session with her, you're like, this is going to be a positive.
I knew I wanted to come back.
Okay.
Right, and that's a start for me.
That's huge.
Because I'd been to counselors like, yeah, I'm not coming back to this dude or this chick or whatever. But after talking to Monica the first time, the session went about an hour and a half, and I knew I wanted to come back.
Yeah.
So I went back for about 4 or 5 months, every day at 5 o'clock for 5 days a week.
Wow.
And
so you went pretty hard.
Yeah, I needed it though. I was about to lose my marriage. Again, to bad decisions and alcohol.
Yeah.
And I have a great military mentor who's pulled me into his office. He outranks me by a lot. And he's like, get your shit together. And I'll quote one of his comments is, get all your shit in one sock.
Yeah.
And like Roger Sergeant Major. And he changed my life really. Like he does, and he's done that not just for me, but multiple Rangers, and he really cares and loves the Ranger and their family. And I put the mask on, right, like we were saying earlier, and I come to work and I did my job, and I go home and just ruin it all. He definitely knew, and he saw it, and he fixed it, because that's what good Ranger buddies do. And I was basically asked my wife for another chance and figured this out, and she gave it to me because she's like the glue, right? The flexible type. Yeah. So she did, and I went to counseling. I went hard, and I still go to Monica. Not as frequent, but every 2 weeks or once a month, based on my schedule and hers, because my schedule's pretty busy.
Right.
But if I can't get in with her, I'll do phone conversation or something to that effect. Yeah. And if anything, I just get a peace from it. Yeah. Even if we're not working on a specific thing or a specific thought or a specific problem, like we're working on just feeling peaceful every day, you know, and being at rest, I guess, and
mindfulness.
Mindfulness. And I brought her to my work, right? We were going at work, we were going through, you know, we had like multiple suicide ideations. We had an unfortunate suicide. And you know, with me, you know, in my position, I would tell guys, I'd hold my formations and be like, hey, I go to counseling, and I'm not afraid to say that. And if you guys need to get help, get help. We have this facade of like, there's weakness in counseling, right? But when actually there's strength through it. So, you know, just me standing there saying it, I didn't feel like I was doing enough.
Yeah.
So so Monica tells me that my hour of time is wherever you want to spend it. So spend it wisely. So I asked her to come to my work. Yeah. And I had my formation, and I was like, hey, you know, I talk about it all the time, guys, but I just wanted you to know that going into this 4-day weekend and the things that we've dealt with and the stuff that we've had happen here at work, I was like, this is my counselor, Monica. And she's actually a real thing.
That's not just something you're saying.
Yeah. And that was hard for me. I had to lead with humility into that aspect and vulnerability. I think that was the hardest one, because as men and alpha males and rangers, and you could add every cliche comment along the way.
Well, you're the first sergeant. You're the man standing at the head of the formation. You're supposed to be like the guy we're all looking up to.
The hardest guy here, right? And that's not all. That doesn't have to be the case in everything you do. You know, you should be able to lead from the front. You know, shoot, move, and communicate. And you should also be able to lead from the front when you're. You have to be humble and vulnerable to let guys know that, hey, man, like, I'm human too. We talked about this when you brought your counselor.
No, is this the first sergeant that you?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe share the story. Well, you did, but I mean, for those listeners who are listening, maybe talk about it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Was
that you were in the formation?
No.
That's a different one. That's what I was saying.
One. Yeah. No, I had a similar experience when we had First Sergeant Anderson, and we came back from. I think it was a pretty bad deployment. It might have been
2010.
Yeah, and he basically stood up in front of everybody and was like, my marriage is on the rocks because I'm an alcoholic, and my children are feral because I'm always gone at work. He's like, and I'm going to lose everything, including the job I love, if I don't get help. He's like, and I'm seeking counseling. And he had already been doing it. And it was just, he was the guy that, like, if you went to his squad when he was weapons squad leader, like, you were getting a tattoo from him in the cage. And it wasn't negotiable. And he's like, you know, he was that first sergeant. It's like, could out PT you, could kick your ass, knew more book knowledge than anybody. Just that guy. And you think, he's as hard as woodpecker lips. He's not ever going to crack. He's perfectly fine. And then, you know, he stood up in front of us, and that saved my life. 100%.
But how frequently, just kind of slipping back a little bit, how frequently do you think that happens in the conventional force versus, because I've heard this story now from you, Paul, from others, especially within Regiment, where those kind of conversations happen, I think, sounds like a lot more frequently. So, I mean, what about the conventional forces that maybe, you know, the guys that you served with before? How many guys are standing up and saying the same thing to their...
I think it's starting to get out there.
Is it?
I think it's spreading a little bit, and I think that the stigma has faded, you know, and like I said earlier, you conform, you know, or get out, right? Because the days of, like, the Vietnam era of I'm going to beat you into submission, and, you know, is gone. And it needs to be gone.
Yeah.
And I had a turning point in my career that it was my slap in my face, and my current Ranger buddy was there for me, and he's like, you have all the building blocks. Hers aren't. Like, you have them all. You just ain't putting them together right, you know. And look at things from this perspective, and that was a hard hit for me because I had it figured out to this point. And
but listening to that, okay, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, and especially as a senior leader, in regiment, and when somebody comes and says something like to you, you've got to really be humble. You got to really, you know what I mean? Because we got egos.
Yeah, and you have to put that in check immediately.
Right. Because, I mean, it's like you almost want to go off and go, you don't know, you know.
Constructive criticism isn't the easiest thing to take, right? And if we don't have a growth mindset, and if we don't have humility, and we can't swallow our pride and put our ego in check, like, you're just going to continue to drive in whatever direction you're going, and you're going to be the only one with the answers. But I think we're getting to a point, and I hope we continue that that's not the case anymore, and dudes are more open to constructive feedback. Dudes are more open to, like, hey man, like, right, pump the brakes in this area, and the more we can get to that, I think the better overall ranger and the better soldiers we're gonna produce, and they're gonna be able to, you always hear that it takes a village to raise a child, right? So at the same time, like, that being said, everybody putting their heads together and coming up with the plan, if you will, or coming up with the answer, and being able to us bouncing things off each other and not having to be always right or be the dude in check, and being able to be like, all right, now taking all these answers and just making a collage out of them and being like, this is how I get better. When we can do that, I think we'll start to grow better as a community and as a regiment, as an organization, and then as an army in general.
It still has to be really hard, though, that when you put yourself out there and expose yourself and, stand in front of these men and tell them your story, and like it made an impact on you, Paul, but for some of these guys, they hear it, but I don't know if they're really listening.
Yeah, and that's in everything you do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can teach somebody. I love being an instructor. Like, one of the things I loved about my career, one of them was being the marksmanship instructor during RAS. Like, that was awesome. I love teaching the new guys how to do stuff, and running and gunning was something I was really good at when I was younger. And then teaching these guys how to do it was like, yeah, here we go. But you can't teach them all, right? Mm-hmm. You can't make them all, shoot in the A group, high A zone. But you can give them the tools, and they just have to work with it. And whether they use the tools or not, like, as long as I'm putting it out there, as long as I'm giving the information, and as long as I'm being humble and disciplined at everything you do, that's the best I can offer. If we could get to everybody, and if everybody had that growth mindset, then we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and everybody's got to learn their lesson in their time too. Sometimes you're not ready to hear it.
That's right.
Yeah. So,
and I'm humble enough to say that I'm not always ready to hear it either, right? But I have enough respect for my leadership, my Ranger buddies, to kind of like listen, at least give them that much and see what they have to say, and then maybe I'll grind on it and be like, "Hey, man, thanks for squaring me away."
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this, man. Like, because I know more about your career now than I did before. But, like, you've done a lot, and like a lot of those aren't highway miles, man. Like, do you think you'd still be on this path working if you didn't seek mental health, or if you weren't open to that?
Yeah, I think that before I had the counselor and stuff, and I think we had some good chaplains, that I utilized, and Chaplain Kramer was one of, if not the best one, I had in my life. And through those times and hard times, I seek God and counsel. Yeah. I would consider myself a religious man and a Christian, and I'm not the best one. I definitely could use a lot more church in my life, but I still have that foundation, that belief, and having different chaplains throughout that time, and me and my beliefs as a Christian, having them kind of like point me back in that direction, definitely helped me keep me on the path until God put Monica in my life and started changing things holistically.
Yeah.
If you could go back and talk to your younger self, what would you change?
Well, I would tell him to be more humble. I would tell him that not to be, he doesn't have anything to prove, because, like Paul and like meeting those guys when I first came into the regiment, like I spent years just trying to prove myself to those guys because those guys were awesome to me. These guys are Army Rangers, like that's, I don't know, I left my work being an Army Ranger, saying that to myself every day. And I would come to work every day, one of my best friends, Monsi's, but, me and him, we still talk all the time, and he would be like, Randy. That's what my nickname, his nickname for me. He'd be like, Randy, you're being an idiot, but I'm like, no, really, like, to me, these guys are like American heroes, like, still are today. And I and that's why I say, like, I don't even deserve to be here when I go to work every day. I feel humble to put on my girdle and my tan beret. And, but the difference between then and now is I don't feel like I have anything to prove as much as I used to. And I would tell my younger version, like, hey man, just do your best and, have respect for your family, put them first. I didn't do that. And that was a hard lesson for me. I put the regiment above everything. I put my career above everything, and I'm probably still guilty of doing that some today. But I definitely put them above the regiment above them. I would tell him not to do that.
Yeah.
The thing that's hard to do is find that balance. And if you don't find that balance, like, it'll drive you insane.
Yeah.
It's a hard pill to swallow too.
Well, it's easy to give everything to that profession, It's an easy thing to do. Well, I shouldn't say it's easy to give it everything, but it's an easy decision to make.
Yeah.
Like, all right, this is life and death, so every day this gets everything.
And the hardest thing for me recently is, for the last 16 and a half years, I knew what was next.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as I row hard, as long as I stay physically fit, I'll make it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And keep learning. Mm-hmm. But now I'm at a point where the pyramid's about to peak.
Yeah.
Retirement's around the corner. And I'm about to enter like the unknown zone.
I was going to ask you, so what's next for Jason Belford?
I don't know. If the Lord wills it, I'd love to be an ops sergeant major or whatever in regiment, and there's so many people that are way better than me.
You're still harder on yourself, Jason.
But those dudes are the guys that I say that are, they're the best at what they do, and I'm just thankful to have a job, and to keep this job for another year would be great. Leading Rangers is amazing. And then, like I said, if I'm fortunate enough to be a sergeant major, ops sergeant major in regiment, that'll be an outstanding achievement in my career. And then I don't know from there, I hope, to be an entrepreneur and teach, coach, and mentor, men and hopefully and young men, what it's like to overcome adversity, and whatever platform I find later on after the Army to do that, I hope is a good one. I've overcome a lot of adversity in 39 years. Failures, people only look at, what I wear on my dress blues or what my uniform looks like. And, I get the holy shit, all the time. But there's a lot of failure that come with that, Ranger buddy. And I'll tell you that there was more failure than success. There was more dark nights than there was standing on the parade field.
Yeah.
And the adversity and the training and the hard times that it took to be achievable in my career, and then hopefully moving in the direction to be, the most important thing is be achievable, a good husband, and a good mentor for my kids, to balance those two out. I hope I can get to that point, because in my opinion, like the hard times, the hard schools, the hard deployments, those things they came and they went. But the hardest thing I do every day is go home and be a husband and a dad.
Mm-hmm. Put as much energy into those next steps, and certainly into what you're talking about in the future, even post-military life, that you have leading up to this point. I think you're going to be successful. You've got a hell of a story, and the fact that you've gone through so much, I think you are probably in the best position you could be, not just for yourself, but for the men that are looking up to you at this point, and have the ability to have someone like you standing in front of them who has gone through so much, who's willing to be open, and has an opportunity now to guide them and lead them through this difficult transition that we were just talking about probably about 30 minutes ago. And you're in the right place. When we talk about right place, right time, just let it organically grow.
Yeah.
But keep your eye on what it is that you're gonna do next. The post-military life.
Yeah, it's hard because, like I said, man, I've known where I was going for the next job, and now I'm like, I would love to be a sergeant major in the Army and be able to mentor those young soldiers and Rangers maybe, but the way that the Army's kind of transitioned in like time frame and stuff, like maybe it lines up. Maybe I keep rowing and maybe I get the opportunity to get out and lead in some other way. Just the other day, a Ranger said to me, they were a little emotional, upset. Some event had happened, and they had shed a few tears, and they're like, I text them, check. I was like, hey, you doing good? And they're like, yeah. Throughout the text, and the last of the text, I said, I'll be okay because Rangers don't cry, right? And I was like, negative. No, they absolutely cry. I cry all the time. I cry when I think about past Ranger buddies. I cry when I think about some of the stupid shit I've done that has ruined my life, or I've had to overcome. And, maybe not all Rangers are emotional, but I definitely am probably one of them. I definitely cried when Old Yeller died, so that happened.
Yeah. Same.
And you have to be, and I think that people need to see that side of you too. And I think that to allow my kids to see that side of Dad has been huge, and I know it's played a role in my oldest son's life, and he's admitted to that, and because he'll tell you that he thinks I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. I don't know why, but he thinks the world of me, and to have him be so proud of me and humbled the fact that he knows Dad is emotional and cries, and
it's the biggest reward you can ever receive as a parent.
Yeah, and
to hear those words.
Yeah, I love my kids, and they know it, and I'm guilty of bringing work home a lot, and that's one thing that I'm trying to get rid of that now. Mm-hmm. So it's something I'm trying. That's a current problem set that I work on, and I'm good about telling people not to do it. I can sit in an office and give you counseling about how not to do that, but
you're doing it.
But I'm driving home to exit 14 and thinking about work, and then I'm frustrated when I get home, and we're people too, and it's just hard to make that balance. But I'm trying to find those shears to cut that off somewhere. You're gonna have to, because I want to sit on a rocking chair on a ranch somewhere, and see my horses in the field, and my wife sitting beside me, because at the end of the day, 20 years from now, that's what's going to be there. And the Rangers in the regiment and my time in the military is just going to be a story that I tell to people that probably don't want to hear it. But I'll make sure that I don't put my entire DD214 on the back of my car.
Yeah,
I know you was going to. I knew you wanted to hit that.
Then check the spelling on that custom license plate too.
That's right.
Jason, I appreciate you coming on the show, brother, and sharing your journey. And I think it's a very powerful one. Like I said, I think you're in the right place, the right time, and the message that you put behind the microphone today, I think it's really going to resonate with a lot of people, and I really appreciate that.
So I'll leave with this. So in my phone, I've read a couple books, and one of them's called Chop Wood, Carry Water, by John Metcalf. If you've never read it, I prefer. It's a very good book. It's about samurais and archery and stuff. It's a really good book. But there's a couple quotes in that book that are good. I can talk about passionate and patient mentors, right? So that resonated really well with me, because I was like, in the Army, like we're always like, everybody's like, oh my God, I'm going to get in trouble for this, or it's going to kill me. But to approach that, what I try to apply that day, and that's, like I said, I'm currently working on it at home too and at work. But instead of top roping everything, be kind and patient about it, because nobody comes to work every day to do a bad job. Everybody wants to give their best. Their best might not be every day, because I don't give mine every day, because you don't have 100% every day, but you, like I said, better every day. Mm-hmm. And then Matthew 6:22 says, the lamp of the body is the eye. If then your eye is focused, your whole body will be right. So what you focus on, what I listen to, what people surround myself with every day, the people that you bring into your life, they should make you better, every day, those type of people, and the things that you do, the things that you listen to, the things you read, should be driving you to do better every day. And I like to leave you with that, because that's kind of something that I try to work on myself. If I find myself going left to center, my wife will definitely put me right in the middle of the road. But she's good about it. She'll tell you that I never listen, and I do listen, honey, I promise. But she's really good about telling me, how to do better and how to be better. I'm really bad about listening whenever that's my own motto. Yeah. So, having her in my life surround me with those type of things, having Ranger buddies that keep me left to center, I got rid of some of those problems in my life and got refocused. And thanks to like Dave and Donette and my sergeant major mentors and those and Millers and those guys, I keep those guys in my life, because the only thing they do is they just keep sharpening. Iron sharpens iron, right? And they just keep sharpening it every day. And I may not be the best at it, but because of those guys, I want to be, and that's where I'm at right now. I appreciate you guys having me.
No, thanks for coming on, man.